Welcome back to Campus Pressbox, episode number 660. I am your, MIA host or whatever, Damien Bowman, along with coming over from the SEC 411, Mr. Bird LaCroix. Bird, how are you?
We're doing great. It's just the middle of winter right here in mid-March down in Atlanta, Georgia. Mighty cold. Nice.
It is the same up here, my friend. It is the same. We've been under this winter weather warning for 3 days. They said we're going to get a blizzard. I think we got all of 4 inches of snow. So,
yeah, it's tough. We didn't get any precipitation, but boy, it's cold for this time of year.
Cold. Well, Bird, the one good thing, the one shining moment, see what I did there, of this week is the NCAA tournament began yesterday.
Yes, it did.
I know a lot of people don't consider those play-in games or the first four or whatever part of the tournament. I'm kind of on the same page. I don't really think that they're part of the traditional tournament, but until the NCAA tells us otherwise, they are. So they played yesterday, two games.
Wake Forest, right? Or K-State, I'm sorry, K-State.
K-State beat Wake Forest, and who was that, Mount St. Mary?
Mount St. Mary's defeated New Orleans.
New Orleans, yeah. Who I believe the players on the New Orleans team were choking each other out on the sideline last night.
I did not watch.
In the early game. That's funny. You know what? One of my friends actually refereed his first NCAA tournament game yesterday, and that was the game. And I talked to him this morning, and I didn't even ask him if he even saw that. But we're supposed to have dinner later today, so I'll be sure to ask him if he knows about that, because I saw that. I didn't see that until this morning, and I thought it was hilarious. It was all over social media about these guys getting into a fight on the stand or in the bench area, and one guy choking another.
Where was that game? Was it in New Orleans?
Dayton.
It was in Dayton.
They always do the play-in
the
games. Yeah. No, well, they always do the play-in games at Dayton on the men's side. On the women's side, they do it differently, but on the men's side, they always play the first four, whatever. No, in Dayton. So
I remember when there was one play-in game. Isn't that right?
Yeah. That wasn't that long ago.
Wasn't that long ago. 65 teams. Now there's, 68?
68, yeah.
And the women, they play home games, don't they?
Correct. I believe the first two rounds are potted, so like the higher-seeded teams in each region will host the first round, and then once they get to the regional, they'll go to specific sites.
Yes, and Auburn
so it's a little different.
Made that, so at least I have somebody. I have Auburn and Troy, and I don't know if either will get past the first round. I doubt it, but at least I got two teams that I can get behind with enthusiasm.
Auburn and Troy in the women's?
Auburn in the women's and Troy in the men's against Duke.
Correct. Yeah. Right. So, all right. So let's kind of talk about our brackets here. That's what we're going to do today. So I think it's pretty easy here. We'll start in the East, and then we'll kind of go, East, Midwest, South, and West.
Okay.
I think we can. I don't know how much about this but I think it's safe to say that the West is probably the weakest of the four regions.
Yep.
And I would say, maybe the East and the Midwest are maybe the strongest.
Yeah.
It might be split between them, but. I'm looking at your bracket here, and I think that ours are fairly close.
We both have Villanova advancing all the way down to the Final Four.
So I think the only difference that we have really is that you think that UNC Wilmington is going to beat Virginia.
I think they're going to beat Virginia, and then I think they're going to beat the Gators. If the Gators can get past East Tennessee State, who are a formidable opponent, I do believe, from what I hear the talking heads say. But UNC Wilmington is my sleeper Cinderella to make it to the Sweet 16 against Nova, and then that's when they shall fall. But it will be a fun run. Now, I've got who do I have? Wisconsin? Yes, we both have Wisconsin. I'm trying to think. Not a lot of difference. Not a lot at all.
Yep. Just the UNC Wilmington, but I don't think it matters because we both have Villanova winning that region.
Yeah, coming out of the East.
So how bad is it going to be for your the Troy
Trojans?
The Troy Trojans. How bad is it going to be for them?
It could be ugly. There'll be a lot of enthusiasm there at first, but Duke is really hot right now, winning the last game of the regular season against Carolina and then winning the ACC tournament. So they're on a roll and a good shot to make the Final Four, even though I have Villanova beating them to make it to Glendale. But Troy, I would like to see them hang for a half anyway, just a while. But I just don't see any chance at all. A 15 over a 2 is a long shot, and that's a long one even for that.
So for me, the most interesting matchup comes on. I think I'm not really sure what day they play, but it's the round of 32. It's Southern Methodist and Baylor.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And obviously that's a home game for everybody. I'm not exactly sure where that that pod's being played, but I think that matchup between two schools that are basically right down the street from each other, that have not so much recently, but kind of recently gone through types of scandals on the football side. Baylor obviously has all the nonsense from a few years ago on their basketball side. Southern Methodist has all the stuff with Larry Brown. I think it's if the game isn't interesting, the stories inside that game I think are going to be very interesting in itself.
Yeah, and both of them are old Southwest Conference rivals too.
Mm-hmm. So I think we both have Southern Methodist winning that game, but I think it'll be closer than we anticipate. Whatever day that game is on, and whatever time that is, I imagine that's probably going to be maybe the best game in that time slot.
Well, I would expect. Is it tonight they play the other?
The other two are tonight, I believe.
Well, Southern Cal could very well. They could upset SMU. I don't think they will. Obviously, you don't either. But I think that Southern Cal will win that game tonight, and they got a shot. What are they, 25-9 or something? Even though the Pac-12 was kind of low man on the Power 5 totem pole with 4 teams, USC and SMU. That could be a scrap.
Yeah.
But Baylor's a really good. Of course, Baylor is seeded more highly than SMU, and so that is going to be interesting.
Right.
SMU's got a good basketball team.
Yeah. I mean, I think what are they? The Mustangs, right?
They are.
Yeah, I think that they're playing very well considering all the stuff that could be going on with that school with Larry Brown and all the stuff, all the mess that he always leaves behind everywhere he goes. Everywhere. What's this guy? You think this guy has like retirement plans in every state in the union?
He must. And I mean, and he's got the NCAA and the NBA. He's got it all. And he's, if he retires, he's going to have quite a pension from a lot of people, maybe.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so let's go over the Midwest. Moving
across the top.
So this is kind of one of the places where we disagree on the regional champion. But before we get to that, I have Vermont beating Purdue, and you have Purdue beating Vermont, and I think that.
Purdue, they have a good basketball team, and one reason I say that because they are one of the few teams I did get to see play outside of the SEC, and as they defeated Auburn by 22. And Auburn was playing well. They finished the preseason to the SEC schedule with a 10-2 record, and things looked great. But Purdue was one of those 2 losses, and it was brutal. And they are really athletic. They're really large. They're deep, and they're experienced. So I do expect them. Vermont ousted Albany, the Great Danes, and I was once employed at SUNY Albany, so I was pulling for them to play Purdue. But it'll be the Cheesehead Twos or the Maple Syrups or whoever they might be.
So here's my thinking here. I'm gonna make this confession. I made this confession before.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm gonna make it now. Now that we're 8 minutes in or 10 minutes in, whatever this is. I've watched all of 2 basketball games the entire college basketball season. 2.
You've been refereeing. You've been
Correct.
Officiating.
Correct. I've been officiating. I referee basketball, so I don't watch basketball when I'm not officiating it because, frankly, I don't really like basketball.
I don't care much outside of the conference either.
Go. What's that?
I don't care much outside of the conference, SEC.
Okay. But here's what I know about college basketball in 2016-17. The Big Ten is not very good.
Okay.
Now, I know the tournament is a completely different season. Obviously the Big Ten tournament was one season and the NCAA tournament is another season. But I have, outside of Michigan State, which I have no idea why, I'm living in the past, I have no faith in any of these other Big Ten teams. Now, I think Wisconsin has a decent tournament run, but I see absolutely no reason why Vermont cannot upset Purdue and be our first big upset of the weekend.
Well, I hear you. I hear you loudly and clearly. A 13 and a 4, 12, 11 through 13, 14. Sometimes that happens with some bit of frequency. Once you get down to 15, 16, it's just rare. 16's never happened, has it? 16.
No,
over
16
1.
over 1's never happened.
But that's doable for sure.
And then my next big upset in this bracket is Iona over Oregon.
I've got that as well.
Do you have Oregon?
Let me see. Oh, no.
Oh, do you?
Wait a minute. Let me move down.
Oh no, you
Iona.
have you have I'm sorry, you have Iona.
I
Yeah,
do have Iona. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
As do
That's what we
you.
did.
So somebody's
Yeah,
feeling it with Iona. And
that's right.
Iona is located where? In New York State.
Is it? Are you
Something
asking
good.
me?
Something good to Google. Yeah, that was just a little pop out. And I'm also wondering aloud as I say that, but I do think it's somewhere in around the city or not too far upstate in the great state of New York.
Yeah, that sounds right. Iona College, right?
Iona College, yeah.
Yeah,
And they've always been
Rochelle, New
around in
York.
basketball. Always. They're always around the periphery, barking at people, trying to break in and make some noise.
So what other differences do we have in this bracket? So we have.
Let's see.
All right, so I have Louisville beating Michigan.
And for some reason, I have Michigan, your weak Big Ten, defeating Louisville.
Yeah.
And I don't know, they're playing well too. Yeah. And with Rick Pitino, he can always get them there. That would be that's a toss up to me if those two do play each other. Of course, Michigan's got to get by Oklahoma. Now,
Right.
Speaking of Auburn's preseason, Auburn beat them, beat Oklahoma, and here Oklahoma is in the tournament. Louisville, Jack State. Jack State's also an Alabama team. There's a bit of trivia. My father played center on the football team there in 1937 as a long snapper. And so for all of you out there in Campus Pressbox land, that's free.
Yeah,
Information.
that's free. That's free.
Yeah, but so Jack State, they were a big rival of Troy when they used to be in the same conference, but they're not going to be Louisville. And Louisville and Michigan, that's really going to be a close one, I think. And for some reason, again, I did pick the Wolverines.
Okay.
So we've got either Michigan or Creighton. You've got Louisville, and I've got Michigan defeating Creighton.
Correct.
Yeah.
So neither one of us have Creighton.
Even though Creighton making it to the Final 16, and there's another team. It's for some reason I want to say everybody's in the state of New York, but I'm not positive about Creighton either.
And in my bracket, I have Kansas playing Iowa State. And
Yeah.
I think that will happen, and I think that will be a very good game as well. I am not sold on Kansas. I don't. Obviously, we'll talk about the next round in a few seconds here, but I think Kansas, their run is over. I think that they will be exposed early. And I think Bill Self will have his typical exit early, which he should not have, but he will.
I agree with you on. Well, I don't have them for some reason. I have them going to the Final Four, but that has been the MO for Self to get eliminated quickly. I wouldn't be surprised at all. And for you trivia fans, Creighton is in a private school in Omaha, Nebraska.
There you go.
Oddly enough.
And so I have Louisville beating Kansas, and then obviously you have Kansas going all the way. I think that Louisville game will be great. I think it will be one for the ages. I don't know any players on either team. The only thing I know is I trust Rick Pitino more than I trust Bill Self, and that's really where
smart.
The postseason comes down.
Yeah, that's a wise decision or a wise thought or whatever there, because he's obviously Pitino tends to take his teams more deeply into the tournament than Self has been doing as of recent anyway. Even though Kansas seems to always win the Big 12, they don't tend to go terribly far lately.
Right.
When did Roy leave? How long has it been since Roy went to North Carolina?
Oh.
Been a while now.
15?
Well, see, Dean Smith. No, there was nobody between Dean and Roy, was there? So it hadn't been 15, has it?
2003.
Ooh, gosh, where does the time go?
Oh, how many years is that?
That's 14, yeah.
14.
You're
I'm Catholic, so I can't add. So.
Well, you're closer than I would have been. Man.
Yeah.
As Willie would say, gee, ain't it funny how time slips away. Wow.
Yeah, that's crazy, isn't it? 2003?
Yeah. 2003 seems like yesterday. Man.
All right, let's go to the South.
Oh, South.
Okay. We both have UNC basically we both have UNC all the way to the Elite Eight. Mm-hmm. I think the biggest difference for us is that I have Minnesota. This is one of the few teams in the Big Ten that I trust. Richard Pitino, right? I figured maybe he's finally getting the juju or whatever from his father. Beating Middle Tennessee, not Middle Tennessee State University, but just Middle Tennessee. It's the same place.
Same place.
But for athletics, they dropped the SU. They are just MT and athletics. Well. But everywhere else, MTSU. I have no idea why. It makes absolutely no sense. It is very confusing. It's like when I'm in Ohio and I say OU, and people think I'm talking about Ohio University, but smart people think I'm talking about Oklahoma. Just go with what works.
Yeah. Well, that oddly enough, you got Minnesota. You trust them. I have Middle, MT, defeating the Golden Gophers.
Yeah.
I think Middle's got a really good basketball team, and you got to pick a few upsets. So that's one that looks like it could really be one.
That would be huge. I mean, MTSU has that run. What was it? 3 years ago they had the big run.
Yeah, they went how far? 16.
I want to say Sweet
8.
16.
No, they didn't get 8. I don't think.
Yeah, I want to say it was Sweet 16. That was 3 or 4 years ago, I think. So I guess anything's possible. I mean, I was at dinner last night and people were talking about Virginia Commonwealth's run from like 2011, and I'm just kind of like, okay, it's 2017. Like, the only person that might still be there is the head coach and maybe the associate athletic director for basketball. Like I mean, if they haven't been able to reproduce anything close to that in the past 6 years, I'd be shocked if anything happens this year. Just my thoughts on this. I'll say that, and then VCU will probably end up in the Final Four. So you have UNC and you have UCLA.
Yeah, for some reason, I got a feeling about UCLA. And, you talk about 2003, it's been 14 years now. I still think John Wooden often, when I think, everyone, follows basketball at all should think that. But for some reason, I think I'm surprised they're a 3 seed. Doesn't really matter, I guess. But I think they're going to go all the way to the Final Four. I think they'll beat Coach Cal, even though I'm obviously pulling for Kentucky. I'd love to see Kentucky win it all.
Because they're in the SEC.
SEC, and I like their basketball outside. I mean, there's nothing close to Auburn. I don't have favorites like in baseball. It's Auburn all the way. But I love Kentucky basketball, and I pull for them outside of Auburn every year.
Well, I got to tell you, I can't stand these Ball brothers. LeVar Ball and Lorenzo Ball, the dad, and I just...
Shut up, Ball.
I can't, the dad and the son. Actually, the son is probably fine. I mean, I don't even know what this kid looks like. But I turned on Colin Cowherd last week. I have no idea why, because I never watch TV during the day when I'm working. But for whatever reason, I turned it on. I don't know. And there's this guy, loudmouth, LeVar Ball, or Lorenzo Ball. I don't even know who's who. The dad. Let's say the dad. Talking about his brand and how he wants $1 billion for his kids, and I'm not going to do a traditional shoe deal, and my kid can take on Michael Jordan 1-on-1, and it's just like, dude, please stop.
Yeah, stop. Seth wrote an article about that, didn't he?
Yes, he did, which I will link to, which was very good.
Excellent.
I know that his kids are not typical AAU kids, but he is acting like a typical AAU parent, where he thinks his kids are the best ever and doesn't understand that things are significantly different from one level to the next. While he may do very well at UCLA, he may not be that great in the NBA. Sometimes it just doesn't translate.
No. And speaking of that, and I don't follow it closely enough, but I hear rumblings, and I'm on the periphery, so I'm probably, a little knowledge is probably is a dangerous thing. But just off the subject for a minute, do you think AAU has been ruining basketball, NCAA basketball?
So there was a big debate about this a few weeks ago, right, with Ball and Charles Barkley. Isn't that kind of how this kind of started to come up?
Shut up. Oh, I love Charles.
Isn't that kind of how all this started? Because Charles Barkley said something on a national I think that's how I ended up watching this, because I was like, why is this guy mad at Charles Barkley? And I watch this. So I referee AAU basketball all the time. Like, I'll start next week, and it'll go through, like, I don't know, the end of time. It feels like it never ends. I've only been officiating basketball 16 years, right? But 16 years. So when I started, the AAU season was like all of 6 weeks, and there were very few teams. And when you played in the national championship at AAU, you were truly a national champion. 16 years later, Bird, there are probably AAU goes for 4 months.
Oh, yeah.
And there are 1 million teams.
Yeah.
And this is the one point I agree with Ball on. There are so many teams in AAU, because everybody's kid thinks, or everybody's parent thinks, that their kid is going to earn a scholarship to college to play basketball, Division I basketball. It's not going to happen. Now, do the very best kids in high school basketball play AAU? Yes. But if you had an organization and I had an organization, and I had 10 teams and you had 10 teams, and we put 12 kids on each team, all those kids aren't going to get scholarships, right?
No.
So that's the part where I agree with him that it's mostly a money grab for those guys, for those people who have those organizations. I agree with that. Now, here's the other part of this. There are a lot of good people, players, who go on to become coaches, who obviously get a lot of life lessons out of AAU. Mm-hmm. So from that aspect, I have a lot of respect for it. And I have a lot of respect for the kids who put in the time and do the traveling and do all that and all this other stuff because, frankly, I couldn't do it. I don't know how these kids give up the best years of their life to play basketball when the chances of them getting to college basketball and even to Division I are slim and none, and slim is already out the door.
Wow. You don't have any numbers on that, any hard numbers, do you?
No, I don't have any numbers on that. I'm sure that, we could find it. But it's just it's like a meat market, And, like I said, I remember when I first started officiating 16 years ago. It was literally like April and like the first week of May. And now it's like March, and I feel like it goes all the way through July.
Man.
And they have tournaments all over the country. And there's championships here and championships there and recruiting this and recruiting that. And, yeah, AAU coaches have a lot of power, and I think a lot of that is why.
Recruiting, there's always been that whole deal, linking them, to recruiting. And,
right.
that seems to be a little shady.
Right. And I think that's kind of where a lot of people might be coming from is AAU ruining basketball. But here's the other thing. The other thing that's ruining college basketball, which is what Clay Travis was talking about in his show this morning, is the transition from college basketball to the NBA or high school to college to the NBA. We've said, I think a lot of us have said this, that the NBA should adopt Major League Baseball's rule. If you want to go play professional sports, you go right away after high school, or you have to sit for 3 years.
Like football.
And I think that and I think football you can't go right away. You have to wait. But
you
baseball,
can't go right away at all. Yeah, you got to do your 3 years.
Right, but baseball you can go right away. And if you choose not to, you have to sit in college or sit somewhere for 3 years. And I think that benefits the people like LeBron and Kobe Bryant, who are very good, who don't need to go to college or don't want to go to college.
Yeah, they're rare, but they come along. Go.
Right, and the people who want to test the market and see if they're good enough. And if you're not, you can always go play overseas. And then there are the people, the kids, who are good enough to play Division I, but probably are not going to go to the NBA, who probably deserve a chance at those scholarships because they're going to be good student athletes, they're going to be good students, who should have the opportunity to play 3 or 4 years of college sports. And I think that makes the college game better, and I think it makes the NBA game better. Now, where this gets screwy, right, is if you have a kid who's marginal NBA, goes to college, and is really good, but has to sit another 2 years. Well, that's the chance you take, right? With anything in life.
Exactly.
That's the chance you take. So I can kind of see where all this is coming from. Do I think AAU is ruining college basketball or basketball in general? No. Has it helped it? Nah, I don't know. I think, like I said, I think the NBA rule about going, after however many years instead of going to first year or whatever, I think that's more of a problem than anything else. And I think that's the easiest step for everybody is to fix that, to change that rule, and that improves everything across the board.
Yeah,
what do you think?
You also get into Coach Cal and his one and dones, and whoever else does that. Now Auburn started 4 freshmen this year, and there's a lot of great freshman talent on that team, but they aren't to that McDonald's All-America level that everything Cal gets, Kentucky gets either, and so they can't gel in 1 year and get it done. And I think a lot of us were expecting that. Hey, we got 4 great talents, 2 5-stars, blah blah blah, and we're going to make some noise. Well, no, they're young and they act like it, and they haven't become a team. So his genius is making, especially when you see it firsthand, is getting those guys to play together.
Right.
Because you talk about AAU and, it's not about the team and they don't play defense anymore, and it's all about the individual. So, but obviously I don't care with it. Surely Kentucky gets the talent, but he is able to meld that talent into a team. And that's something I hope that Bruce can do with time, but not on that level that the talent that Kentucky gets and all. Now, as far as about ruining and all, I don't know enough of it, but I like what you said about the 3-year deal like they do. Either go like the Major League Draft or they sit for 3 years because, again, make the decision. And I do think that would help basketball, but there's a lot of people that know a lot more about it than I do that think college basketball is going to hell. So,
well, and to go back what you said about Cal, Cal Perry, I agree. Like I think he gets five-star recruits for two reasons. One, he wins championships with players who are there for 1 year or gets to the Final Four, whatever. Mm-hmm. And almost every player on his team is going to get a legitimate chance to play in the NBA.
Yes, sir.
And if you're a five-star McDonald's All-American player, that's what you want. Now, the other side of this is...
If they're Kentucky. I mean, they recruit stuff. Yeah.
But, I mean, how many of these All-Americans make it in the NBA? Well, here's the other part of this. If you're a college basketball coach, that's not your problem. You don't care if they make it in the NBA. And that's the part that people don't want to hear. It's like, it's the same thing in football. People go, oh, well, Ohio State doesn't have very good players in the NFL. Well, guess what? They're a pretty good football team in college football. And if you're an Ohio State fan, you only care about how they do in college football. You don't care what they do in the NBA or the NFL.
Yeah. I wish them well. I wish that everybody wants to pursue their dreams and so forth like that. But it's just not all of us. And there's reality, and the pool is so very, very minuscule. Right. But everybody wants to get to the league, and that's you can't fault them for that. But
and here's something. I mean, we were talking about my friend who referees Division I basketball, works in the Big Ten, works in the Horizon, works in the MAC, works in the Summit, works in the Big East, works in 6 or 7, Division I conferences. There are probably 3,000 Division I basketball referees, 3,000. And in the NCAA tournament, they take 100 of those 3,000. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and in the NBA, they hire 2 or 3 officials every year for the NBA, and there's like 75 of them. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And the gauntlet, the road to the NBA or even to Division I, even minor Division I like the Horizon and the MAC, the Mid-American Conference, or the Colonial where you're from, or even those small time, MEAC, whatever conferences, like the battle to get those spots. It's so tough because everybody wants those jobs because they pay $2,500 or $3,500 or $4,000 a game, and if you do 40 or 50 or 60 or 80, or if you're John Higgins, you do 100 of those games a year. Woo! Well, that's all you're doing because you're pulling in $200,000 a year.
Yeah.
Right? And it's the same thing for the kids who want to get from high school to college to the NBA, or even just to go play overseas, because the money is real, but the opportunities are so small.
Very small.
And I think that that's where AAU coaches might, I'm not saying they do, I'm saying might in some cases, do those kids wrong because they say, come play for my team, I'll make sure you get a scholarship. Well, you might get a scholarship, but it might be at a Division II or Division III.
Yeah.
And it's definitely the road to Division I is very difficult. You don't need to play AAU to get to Division I. If you're that good, the coaches will find you. And I think that that's where the AAU has kind of gone askew, is because everybody just assumes that you have to play AAU to get seen by Division I. This isn't volleyball. Volleyball, you have to play JO to get a scholarship. Basketball, if you're really good, they're going to find you. It's fine.
Oh, yeah. Well, there are, obviously you only have to have, like a dozen players on a team. And so aren't there like over 300 D1 basketball teams, and what are there, 128 football?
Right.
And so, talent spread around. And you go down, you look at places like who's the team at Florida State's playing? Florida Gulf Coast and Iona and on and on and on, Mount St. Mary's. There's a lot of talent in these little teams. They have some good basketball teams. You look down at those teams in football, no way in hell. They're not running to scratch. But they can knock off the big guy every now and then.
Right. And then that's the difference between, and obviously we're talking about the difference between Division I basketball, where there's just one division, and Division I football, where they have the bowl subdivision and the championship subdivision. So obviously I think if they merge those two divisions, sure, there would be a lot of halves, but do we really think that Vanderbilt's ever going to be really great in football? No. They would probably be a better FCS team than they would FBS team, but it doesn't work that way. No. In basketball, the playing field is much more equal because there's fewer players. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Like, you don't need 60 basketball players. Yeah. You
got 85 on scholarship, then you got walk-ons in football.
Right, exactly. But, all those 3 stars at Alabama that Alabama's holding on to, even if they went to Vanderbilt, that doesn't mean that they're going to be very good. No. But the 3 stars that Calipari has, if they went to Florida Gulf Coast, well, now they have a chance to be a number 1 seed.
Oh, yeah.
The talent in basketball is so much more, like you said, minuscule compared to football or even baseball or volleyball. Like, it's just not even really a fair comparison, other than, breaking down the divisions.
And one guy can turn the program around. You get a true 5-star blue chipper, McDonald's or whatever, and boy, that impact on starting 5 is just boom.
Ben Simmons, right?
Ben Simmons.
Isn't he the best? Isn't he the best example in the past 5 years of that?
Yeah.
Like, did LSU even play basketball this year? I don't know. I haven't seen them all year. I'm serious.
They took the court. I mean, that was one of the teams we beat twice. Right. They were 2-12. No, maybe 1-17 or 2-16 in the SEC. Right. And I can't imagine who they beat. Maybe they beat Mizzou. I can't remember. They were just horrible. And of course, Johnny Jones got fired. But they weren't that good with Simmons, which is an indictment too.
Right. Well, that's an indictment on the coaching and that's an indictment on, as part of the coaching, letting Simmons do whatever he wanted, whenever he wanted, and not holding him accountable to anything. And we see, I believe he's injured, so I don't think he's playing at all or hasn't played or very little in the NBA. But it'll be interesting to see if any of that talent translates to the NBA, because everybody was so hands off with him at LSU.
Yeah. Yeah, and it just goes to prove again, you're talking about a team sport. I mean, you got to play together. I mentioned Auburn, trying to get it together and meld a team. But if you got one guy there, and then Pete Maravich is an example. Back when he played, it was my hero growing up. I just thought he was the greatest thing ever. But it was all Pete Maravich, and they only had a winning record one year, and it was 14-12 or something like that. And it was all Pete.
Right.
It was just Pete. And as far as a team goes, and as far as wins and losses go, LSU didn't get anywhere at all. They finally made the NIT his last year. But, they regularly got beat. First basketball game I saw at the old Beard Eves Coliseum in Auburn in '69 was Auburn and LSU, and Maravich was playing. And my Tigers with John Mingelt and they just beat the crap out of them, Yep. And but so they got to, once again, got to play together, and again, you take your hat off to people like Calipari.
Yeah, I mean, as much as I don't really have a whole lot of respect for Calipari because of all the
trouble follows him
leaves.
as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very hard to ignore the job that he does recruiting and getting those kids to play together in a short amount of time.
Yeah.
And being absolutely competitive every year. I mean, you would think 1 or 2 years he would have a period where he doesn't make the tournament or his team is just very average. He gets 3 guys and they're all just not really that good. And I think if you look at the McDonald's All-Americans from the past 5 years, if there's, I don't know how many there are. I know there's 62 5-stars or whatever in college football. But if there's 25 McDonald's All-Americans,
yeah, you
have to think maybe 8 or 9 pan out, right? At both levels. I just think that, this goes back to who rates these people? How does this happen? Nobody's perfect. We get stuff wrong all the time. So all these All-Americans can't be that good, right? All of them can't be. I'm not saying they're not good basketball players, but they're not going to be great players.
Yeah.
You might get one great player out of 5 McDonald's All-American classes. So 1 out of 5 classes, you might get a great player, and everybody else is going to be very good.
Well, you look at football, too. How many 5-stars played in the Super Bowl? Very few.
Right, very few. Right, and that's why I don't even care about recruiting, because it doesn't mean anything to me until you get on the floor. Oh my God, we have the number 1 recruiting class. Congratulations. We'll see those kids in 3 years.
And you're talking about Calipari, then you have to take your hat off to Saban in football, because he does the same thing. He gets the best guys and he wins every year.
Right. And we talked about this a few weeks ago on the SEC 401, how Saban always has his quarterbacks are so average.
And then
right. He never gets a world beater as a quarterback. Everybody goes, how come he can't recruit a quarterback? Well, I'm sure he can recruit anybody he wants. He can recruit me if he wants. I'll quit my job and go play for him. But it's his ability and his staff's ability to take those average players and make the system work for them to get them to the next level that I think a lot of other coaches don't understand.
It's all about the process.
Right. And we can talk about Ole Miss and everything they're going through, and they got that great recruiting class, but what did it do for them? They didn't play in the SEC championship game. They got mid-level bowl games all the way around. And now they may not even have a program in 2 years. You go through all that, and then where does it get you? Is it worth it? Because you might win 3 or 4 games. You might beat Alabama one time in 3 years. Well, they still get 3 championship rings, and you get nothing.
Yeah, they don't. They said they never won the West. We talked about that.
Ever.
Yeah, since the dawn of man.
Right, ever. As in, not even since the dinosaurs were around have they won the SEC West.
And they're not now.
They're definitely not going to win it now. I agree.
Sniffed it, but boy, it's over. It's over. Dead and done.
For a long time, probably.
Long time.
We'll talk about that in a few weeks.
Yeah,
because
we will.
That's a topic we haven't talked about. So, all right, let's get back to the bracket. We have one region left.
The West. The Wild West.
Which I think everybody sort of agrees is the weakest of the 4.
Yeah, definitely.
Gonzaga, Notre Dame, Arizona, Maryland. It's actually like an interesting conference.
Very competitive,
region.
I think.
Yeah, I just don't think the talent is as good as everybody thinks it is. I think you and I have the upset of the year, just kind of in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
You have Notre Dame beating Gonzaga, and I have West Virginia beating Gonzaga.
Yeah, you love Gonzaga. Since they began to play in the tournament and have good basketball many years ago, people love them. But I like because of the name. But them making it to the Final Four is probably not going to happen. I would love to see it happen, but you're going to have to get past Notre Dame or West Virginia or
Arizona.
Vanderbilt, Northwestern coming out of the second game. Vandy, if they can get together, talking about melding a team. Vanderbilt gets these white guys and these smart guys, and they can shoot the eyes out of a three, and they play team ball. It's a thing of beauty to watch them play team ball, and that's what Vanderbilt has to do.
Right.
They don't have the elite talent that a Kentucky or a Florida or whoever has, but they beat Florida twice this year, and now they're playing. They got a darn good opportunity to play Gonzaga if Gonzaga will win, but they got to play Northwestern, and now you want to take the Northwestern thing.
Yeah. So this goes back to my whatever about the Big Ten, and really this is more about the Vanderbilt people are right. Like the Vanderbilt people are very smart and they make the tournament, and I can't remember who made the tournament a few weeks ago, their first year of eligibility. Northern Kentucky, I believe. Yeah. Made it their first year of eligibility, but Northwestern's been playing basketball since the Peach Baskets, and they haven't been able to get in.
I just didn't know that.
Yeah, it's just like I get it, like it's a nice story, and I know that a lot of the national media, sports media, went to Northwestern, but enough with Northwestern. Like I'm sick of it. I'm sick of hearing about it. I hope they do well. Do they get past Vanderbilt? Maybe, probably not. Are they going to get past Gonzaga? Absolutely not. No. I don't think it matters. So I get it. First time NCAA appearances are great for everybody up and down the ladder. But let's be realistic about what this is. Northwestern played in the Big Ten, which is absolutely terrible this year. I think the only team the team I have going the furthest actually is it West Virginia? Or I'm sorry, is it? Yeah, I don't have a.
You got West Virginia going deep.
Yeah, I don't have a Big Ten team getting out of next weekend.
I hear you.
Sweet 16. I think it's all over for the Big Ten after Sunday. It's all over.
It could very well be.
I just don't see it. I hope I'm wrong. I would love for Izzo to go back and prove me wrong. He always does.
Well, historically, they've been so strong because of that's one reason Northwestern hasn't got there. You look at Michigan, Michigan State, Ohio State, Wisconsin, Minnesota.
Illinois.
Like Illinois.
Right.
I mean, heck, even Iowa. And
Maryland.
They just Maryland, who's now in the what? ACC?
No, they're in the Big Ten.
They're in the Big Ten. That's the oddity, isn't it? They went out. They moved out to the Midwest. Yeah, they did.
By the way, I think Xavier beats. I think Xavier beats Maryland.
I wouldn't be. I picked Maryland, but I wouldn't be shocked at all. That was a hard pick. I almost went with Xavier Day. And Florida State's. I saw a couple of the talking heads pick Florida Gulf Coast in that game, but I just think FSU's got a pretty darn good basketball team.
So, what do you think about West Virginia and Notre Dame? You would take Notre Dame there?
I have got. Well, I don't have West Virginia. Oh, let me look and see what I've got.
Yeah, you have
I have
West Virginia
beating Bucknell, but I have them losing to Notre Dame. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they split that. I think they
all the way to
split
the
during
Final
the season.
Four for some reason. I don't know. Maybe
I think they split during the regular season.
Okay. Yeah, I've got them beating West Virginia. Got them beating Arizona. That was a tough pick. Gonzaga not as much as Arizona because Arizona's got a good team. Always do too.
Right. But, Crazy Hurley brother.
Yeah. That's right. That's the Duke Hurley guy, isn't it, Bobby?
Yeah, Bobby Hurley. Yeah.
Well, they're playing basketball.
They are. They're playing very well. I think that they are the clear favorite because of the teams that they play in their conference and non-conference, and I think that is what gets them there. I have no idea where they finish in the Pac-12 tournament. It doesn't really matter because conference tournaments are dumb. I just don't have any faith in Gonzaga. I know that's unpopular. People will tell me I'm stupid. I am stupid, by the way. But I will take Huggins any day of the week. Again, I trust Huggins more. Now, here's the thing. Huggins and Mike Brey, I think they're two very good coaches. But if Huggins has a little bit more talent, he'll just yell and scream, and you'll play harder for him. And I think that's where Mike Brey falls down. I think Mike Brey's a very good coach. He's done a great job at Notre Dame. I just, for whatever reason, right now, I feel Bob Huggins. Maybe him and his radio guy can get thrown out again. It's been a while.
That's one of those deals, the coach, and they are a 4 seed, Notre Dame a 5 seed. I mean, it's that close.
Right.
It'll be a really good ball game.
Yeah. I mean, to me, that's appointment television. Wherever that game is, find that game, sit down and watch it. To me, it's that simple. I wouldn't be surprised if that's a national TV game.
Yeah. Makes sense. High-profile teams, especially Notre Dame, high-profile coaches.
Regional matchup.
Yeah. That'll be a good one.
A conference matchup. I can't imagine that would not be a national TV game. I mean, that just seems like an easy one for CBS, honestly, for CBS to grab and say, we're going to put this on national TV.
And that'll be a Thursday, Saturday, or Friday. It'll be a Saturday or Sunday game, won't it?
Yeah, that's 18-19. Yep.
Yep.
So, yeah, round of 32. That'd be great. Again, I would love to see it. I'll be in Columbus, Ohio for the that's next weekend, right? No, that's this weekend. I got my weekends mixed up. Actually, I'll be home, so I'll be able to watch that next weekend. I'm going for the
Well, I'm busy
finals.
tomorrow, and I won't get to see much tomorrow, but I really want to see Troy. Now, can you tell from your bracket, what day is Duke Troy?
No, I can look. Hang on.
It's all we've got in front of us is the seeds and and we don't have the location, and we don't have the times or place or dates.
Greenville, North Carolina.
North
Friday.
Carolina.
Friday in Greenville.
Friday, good. I can watch all day Friday.
Friday in Greenville.
Greenville, North Carolina or South Carolina?
North Carolina.
North Carolina, okay. Well, that's right in Duke territory, yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So, should be good. Let's go over the last half of our bracket here. All right, so I have my final four is Villanova, Louisville, UNC, Arizona, and you have Villanova, Kansas, UNC, Notre Dame.
UCLA, Notre Dame.
UNC is what I'm looking at.
Dude, did I mess up? The printout I got in front of me says UCLA.
Okay, well then, this is wrong then.
Then it certainly is. I'm sticking with the Bruins.
Sent me UNC. So you don't think so?
I'm playing both sides of the fence.
So you have UCLA beating UNC, huh?
Yeah, I do.
No trust in Roy?
Not a lot of trust in Roy, no. More than Bill Self, but no.
Wow.
Roy got buried at the end of the year, too.
Wow. That's huge. That's actually a big upset.
It is.
I think UCLA is very one-sided.
Yeah, for some reason, I just think they'll get it done. It's their time. And no Roy, no.
And then you have Notre Dame.
And I have Notre Dame. That's a long way for them to go. Even to get by Princeton and then West Virginia, Gonzaga, Arizona, that's a long haul. But for some reason, I just got a feeling on them. I'm feeling a little Catholic right now. I'm
good.
Thinking,
hey, we're always taking people.
Yeah,
we're always taking applications.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
We got a big holiday coming up in a few days. First day of the tournament.
Gosh, I forgot. You got St. Patty's is coming.
That's right.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah, it's good. If it can just get women priests, then we could talk.
Correct. All right. So, okay, I guess I have to ask this then. Who do you have in the final? Because I have Villanova against UCLA, I assume.
I got Villanova, UCLA, and I got Nova.
Wow.
Yeah. Some people, I just think it's going to be a repeat. First repeat in, how long?
Wait.
Quite a while.
Villanova didn't play UCLA last year, did they?
Well, I'm talking about
you're talking about Villanova winning.
Villanova repeating, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Florida repeated a few years back.
Yeah.
I can't remember if anybody has since then. But
so I'm actually completely different than you. I have Arizona and Louisville in the final, which is probably nobody has that.
Uh-huh. Well, both 2 seeds.
And actually, I didn't even know this until just now. Arizona winning at home in Glendale.
Oh, didn't think of that.
Yeah, I didn't even see that till now.
Of course, they come up from Tucson, but yeah, that's home.
That's. I mean, compared to Louisville, it's all game.
Exactly, all the way from the bourbon country out to tequila country.
Yeah. So I didn't even, like I said, I didn't even notice that. So that's a home game for them. Probably playing in front of 90,000 people in a great stadium.
Yeah, they're playing in the Big Boy, the football stadium.
Yeah, probably. What is it? Pink Taco Stadium or whatever they call that place.
Gosh,
now.
I don't know what it is. It used to be the University of Phoenix Stadium. That buy yourself a degree thing.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows what it is now?
They changed so much, and it used to be Tostitos, and now it's not Tostitos anymore.
Right. Okay, so give me one game that you are really looking forward to on your bracket. That you are going to sit down and watch one game, and not Troy.
Not Troy, okay.
Not Troy. A good game on your bracket that you are really looking forward to based on your bracket.
Let me see. I would love to see. Kentucky UCLA, the old wooden, going back into the ghost of wooden Adolph Rupp.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Off the top of my head, yeah, that's one I wouldn't dare miss.
So if I'm looking at your bracket, I am going to say, wow, this is tough. I still think that Kansas-Michigan State game might be decent, but I'm going to have to go with, on your bracket, Kansas and Purdue.
Kansas and Purdue. That's a ball game. I like to. Again, I got to watch Purdue this year, and that'll be a good one. And they could win. Purdue could definitely win that game, no doubt.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting game. I think Kansas and Michigan could be interesting if Kansas gets past Purdue, like in the the Elite Eight that weekend, the regional final. On my bracket, like I just said, I mean Notre Dame and West Virginia. I'm really looking forward to that game. Kansas and Iowa State again.
Well, yours, Kansas Louisville, I would love.
Kansas Louisville. Yep. Yeah. Well, how about Kansas and Iowa State?
And UNC. Oh, but above that, UNC and Kentucky.
UNC and Kentucky.
Yeah.
Obviously, yeah. I mean, I think if you get UNC Kentucky and UNC UCLA or whatever, I think you're just dialing it back to the 1950s and 40s and 60s. We're just going back to old school basketball.
Taking it back, and as we make this circle of life too, those things have become more and more important to me. I mean, almost day by day. I mean, those things are to the forefront of my thinking more so than recent. As you get older, then you think more back. You think back up to Adolph Rupp, to Bear Bryant, to Shook Jordan, to John Wooden, and thinking back to before he was Abdul-Jabbar, Lou Alcindor, and playing Houston in the Astrodome, and the only game that they ever lost while Jabbar was there. That was that was an enormous deal for us to be able to sit down and watch. And of course, I was pulling for UCLA. But what was I'm trying to think of the Houston guy's name. That
wasn't Olajuwon, was it?
No, that was way before that. This was 67, 68, somewhere in there.
Clyde Drexler? No.
No, it's boy, I can see him. And then a few years back, before I crept toward Medicare age, I could have told you off the top of my head quickly, but I can't tell you now. But that was just an enormous game, and Houston won it by a couple of points. But then UCLA wound up winning the whole thing again for John Wooden's how many ever time it was. It was just a truly amazing time.
I'm looking here, and I thought it was...
Here it is, Houston, UCLA. Oh, wait, here we go. Here, the game of the century in college basketball. January 20th, yes, it was 68. And I'm thinking, not Elgin Baylor, but E is in there. The Big E was the guy's name. Come on, game of the century, Wikipedia. Talk to me. Yeah. 71-69. Astrodome, 52,000 people. And it was an enormous, the game itself.
Elvin Hayes?
Elvin Hayes. There we go. You got it. Elvin Hayes and Lou Alcindor. Yeah, pre-Jabbar. And really, Jabbar was the one who was primarily responsible for getting the dunk outlawed. And he had to go to the skyhook. Because, he was so dominant in there, they outlawed the dunk for I don't know how many years, from what year to what year. But I remember they brought it back in 76 because we went to that first game in 76 and they could dunk again. And
is that the breakaway rims? Is that when the breakaway rims came in? Or was that before that even?
I don't know. That would sound about right. Yeah. Yeah, Elvin Hayes. And then you get into the Walton years, with UCLA too. And they won it all except against David Thompson and NC State beat Walton in his game.
All right, so the breakaway rim invented in the mid-'70s.
Yep, about the same time. So dunking was out of the question for 7 or 8 years there at least, and came back in 76. We went to an Auburn and Alabama doubleheader in Birmingham the night before an Iron Bowl, and they could dunk that night, and that was an exciting thing. And I saw Alabama was playing Purdue, and Auburn was playing, gosh, I can't even remember. But anyway, I had the most fun that game watching an Auburn fan pulling against Alabama in basketball in November. He was pulling so hard for Purdue that he got red in the face, and he had to get up and leave the game.
Wow.
This is basketball. That's just the intensity of the Auburn and Alabama rivalry. It was hilarious. I didn't care. I could have cared one way or the other who won the Alabama-Purdue game, but this guy almost had a stroke. Oh, yes.
All right, Bert, tell everybody where they can find you.
Well, you're going to find me at here, campuspressbox.com, on Twitter, at Autull, Autull, and my personal domain, birdlacroix.com. Take it away, Damien.
Okay, you can find me on Twitter at Damien Bowman, DamienBowman. This postseason, as we do every postseason for the NCAA tournament, we'll be doing our tournament notebooks. So East, South, West, and North, or Midwest, I'm sorry. Let me tell you who, you think by now I would have this information at the tip of my hand, so I don't. But covering the West will be Carrick Jones. Covering the East will be Zach Kushner. The Midwest will be Damon Del Rosario. And me, will be making my writing debut or return or whatever.
Whoa.
To cover the South. So
I look
ready.
forward to that. Yeah,
it should be full of snark and regular guy comments. I can't believe they actually gave me a decent region that has like good basketball play in it. So I have the South with UNC and Kentucky and UCLA and Cincinnati and Arkansas and Minnesota and Butler and Dayton. I've got a good region here. So if you're looking for great coverage with statistics and breakdowns of player matchups, don't go to Campus Press Box. Not for the South region. But if you want something fun with good gifs and pictures and Vine, I don't even know if Vine is still a thing. I'll find out tomorrow. And all that other nonsense, look for me, Campus Press Box in the South region. Notes for this episode can be found at fourlights.fm/CPBX, CPBX, like Campus Press Box, /60. So go there for all the notes and the links for everything we talked about today. Bird and I will be back hopefully next week. Maybe Monday or Tuesday we can get this in before the following weekend's games. I'll try and get Damon on here so he can actually give you some knowledge that Bird and I don't have about people who actually know what the hell's going on in college
basketball. He's a great basketball guy. He really is. And he can give you all the in-depth skinny, I guarantee you. Yeah.
Right. He can actually tell you what's going on. So I think that's it. Bird, are you ready for the big tournament?
I am ready. I'm excited about it. Let's do it. Tip it off.
Let's do it. Thanks for stopping in, everybody. Have a great night.
Bye-bye.